literally almost on fish.
So a clip of Buju Banton's son has been making its rounds on TikTok for the past few days. In it, he's sharing his struggle with his sexuality, and the video itself is okay, but what really alarmed me was the comments. A young man is clearly trying to express his vulnerability and his confusion, and instead of empathy, he was immediately labeled, he was mocked, and he is actively being dismissed. Hello everyone, and welcome to True Chats with Shen. This is where we react to things that are trending online, but we don't just react to them. We try our best to squeeze, if even just a drop of a lesson from it. So if that's your vibe or something that you think you will like, please consider subscribing now. If subscribing is just too much for you right now, at least like this video. It goes such a far way. One thing about Jamaica, we never shot a story. We never shot a story. Every week is another 90. But for those of you who have not seen this video yet, let's watch it together.
I'm literally almost on fish. You see me? Because you know, Satan can manipulate your mind and your character. But you see, because my father sang, drag back my memory. But I say, weird. No, man, no, my father sing, boom, bye bye. See, you know? I took him the next day, I'll walk to church. And I said, this is it.
When I say you're almost, no, he didn't do anything physical. But when you say you're almost turned fish, what that means?
Almost on the game because the enemy of my mind. The enemy of my mind are weird.
So you were lusting after men?
More they say lust still, but the idea of it.
Okay.
You see, because remember you was alright. Remember say why me never fully understand when I deal with, you know. But I face rejection too. With feel like that door that they close at one point with woman.
So, because of the whole discourse, I decided to go and watch the whole video. And one thing I must say is, even from this small clip we watch, he was being so very open, so honest, and so vulnerable. I truly appreciate somebody who can actually tell them story, even if a little shame in it. Tell your story openly and not try to portray your life or portray things as something that they are not. So I really applaud him for even have the courage to come out in the Jamaican society and talk about things like this, because let's be real, these things happen every day. People have these thoughts every day. It's just that people don't like voice them, but that's a different conversation. What I really want to get into is these comments. I'm gonna go up on TikTok and see if I can find a few of the comments that people left. See this a girl here says, Satan never do a thing. A big you want. Sometimes Satan never see you. Him not look like him alright upstairs. I wanna hear Satan's side of the story. No amount of demons can make me have them feelings there. The list goes on and on and on. If you look at the comment section under places where these videos are posted, these are the types of comments that you will see. It's kind of disappointing, especially when we see a man being so open, honest, and vulnerable. In a society where we crave things like that from men, we always say that men are they're not emotional, they don't express how they feel, and it makes living with them, it makes cohabiting the world with them so much more difficult than it needs to be. Women say these things all the time, yet there are women, both women and men, in these comment sections saying ridiculous things to the point where them willing to defend Satan. Can't make this up, girl. And it really never helps that this whole thing come out in the midst that any man will breathe, walk, eat food, fly, drive car, clap mosquito, a be man. It never helps that all of this come out in the midst of that trend going on TikTok. So because I watch the whole video, I can tell you say the video itself, the whole video, while there are a lot of things that I cannot relate to or understand based on my whole religious beliefs or things that I hold true, there is so much value in this conversation that I think a lot of people are bypassing because they want to snicker at him almost turn a fish. Like the small part of the conversation is overshadowing the big part of the conversation. Now, in this video, he talked about church hurt. He talked about unrealistic expectations when you're just entering the church. He talked about generational curses. He talked about so many things. I'ma feel so bad. So the conversation is being overshadowed by this one very small portion of his video. And I think also the added thing of him being Buju Banton's son, and even he mentioned it, the song, all of that comes together and overshadows the true value of what he was trying to say. If you are interested in actually listening to people, not just to like talk about it, but to actually listen to somebody's story to understand their perspectives, it would be a great listen. I think the channel is Sheena Power Talk. Definitely go and give it a watch. But I want to talk about how socially we react to people saying the things that are hard to hear, people being vulnerable about things that are taboo in our society. The response, even though it's disappointing, it's not very shocking to me. I feel like, say, in the Jamaican society, a lot of people would rather to hide, would rather to experience these things in private, would rather to approach these conversations with such, like them a walk by eggshells. And the fact that somebody was being so open, so candid about their experience, it really shocked so many people. But I honestly believe that these are things that really needed to be said. It's really disappointing that people would choose to react this way, especially when we are having so many conversations about male mental health in general, and we see somebody expressing something that had them in a chokehold, something that kept them down, feelings that had them feeling not like themselves. And instead of us like showing empathy, we not feel like a certain lifestyle, but for us, instead of us showing empathy and kind of being there, trying to understand where somebody's coming from, instead of us prioritizing, actually taking into account this man's mental health and not saying certain things that might cause him to have, to regress. Instead of us doing that, instead of us considering the feelings of our fellow brother, instead of us actually approaching the conversation like we're grown adults and not 10-year-old children who hear the word bottom out of our parents' mouth or vagina out of our parents' mouth and a snicker at it, instead of us to approach the conversation with maturity and understanding, it is not surprising but disappointing to see how people reacted. I got constantly in another video here reiterate how disappointing the public's reaction has actually been. When the conversation is about male sexuality, I don't understand why it have to turn into something so comical. I don't understand what's so funny about it. I don't know if we don't really think so because we sing certain songs or because we lash out on certain things. It make we look less like so we embrace the gay lifestyle. But to me, it's quite the opposite. Anytime you see people go on and on and on about certain things, it's usually because it touched a nerve that they did not want exposed. I'm not say everybody, but in order for kind of take target or take eyes off at them and what them feel, them attack another person. The term bi-curious exists and it not stop existing when you touch upon Jamaican soil. Let's not attack people for actually saying the quiet thing out loud and saying that this is something that exists. I experienced it. I'm not even tell people say this happened to enough man, and you know, him just say, hey, I felt this and I didn't know what to do and I ran to the church. What I really want to get across is that nobody actually benefits when we approach certain situations and certain conversations in this way. It is okay to have uncomfortable conversations. It is okay to talk about things that are taboo in order to help other people. It is okay to have these kinds of conversations. If we would have these open and candid conversations about things that we are actually feeling, we would stand to benefit more than when we snicker, point, and laugh. Doing that benefits nobody. Literally nobody benefits when we, instead of having the hard conversations, we make jokes out of it and we dismiss people who feel that way and we label them as something that they are absolutely not. Conversations like these can help so many people. So many ripple effects of not just having the conversations, and I really want to reach to a place where we can have hard, uncomfortable conversations, when we can open the floor, talk about the things that concern us, have these conversations so we can get solutions to whatever issues we might be facing. And also, let me just address the hypocrisy about this whole situation, right? As much as the Jamaican culture says that they don't like homosexuals, it is a lie. TikTok alone can show you say Jamaica don't have no problem with homosexuality. Jamaica don't have no problem with homosexuality. So why is it that when somebody is being vulnerable in this context that we have to blow it out of proportion, we have to call them names, we have to label them as something that they're saying, hey, this is not what I am. Why we can't just listen to them, empathize with them, and give them space to tell them story? You feel like I'm alone in this country feel this way? We have to create a space for people to be able to freely express the things that they are feeling, especially when it comes to men, because we know that there's an added pressure for men to have a certain type of personality. They have to act a certain way, they have to be a certain way, they have to always be like this image of bravado and strength and grrr and all of that. That can be so taxing to somebody's mental health. What happens when people are not able to speak or to express? What do we think the result of not being able to talk, even talking are like the least at the thing where you can do, at the least thing where you can do? What happens when even a conversation about something that can affect how you see yourself, not just this specific thing, but in general, just having conversations? What do we think the result of suppressing, of not being able to express, feeling like you're going to be ridiculed for just saying anything that steps out of what is culturally acceptable? What do we think the result of that is? We now have to think, because we see so many examples of what happens when people are expected to just be this specific way and it doesn't align with who they actually are, or they cannot seek guidance because they can't even talk about it. We've seen the result of that so many times, and it's not a favorable result. Being open emotionally is not a weakness. I'm gonna say, especially for men, that is seen so much as a weakness, which is why I find it so strange, or so I take note of the fact that it's not just women, it's not just men. For the men, I'm thinking, you're laughing at this guy, what happens when it's your turn to be vulnerable? For the women, I'm thinking, you are laughing at this guy, yet you ask for vulnerability, you ask for men to be more open with you, and instead of you understanding when a man is open with you, you mock him. You make him feel small. Imagine you share your experience trying to figure out who you are. Probably even in the midst of trying to figure out who you are, and the whole country are judge your feet. We have this kind of personality as a culture where we not really take things serious. And while it helps us through a lot of tribulations and trying times, we have to understand that at some point we have to actually get serious. We have to actually be a bit more considerate and be a bit more mindful about the things that we say to other people. These are other people on the other side of the screen. This is a man who clearly was going through something, and all he's doing is expressing that this is how I was feeling at the time, and this is what I did to overcome these feelings. That's really what it is. And if even that we can't hold space for is very telling. Nobody now say you have to agree with a certain lifestyle, but I think we should be at least mature enough to hold space for these conversations to be had. At least if you don't have nothing good to say about a situation, if you not reach a space where you can have a mature kind of mindset about these things, at least to not say anything about it until you can find the maturity. And even though sometimes people just try to be funny, you're just downright mean, you're just downright cruel. And instead of holding space for cruelty, let's hold some space for vulnerability. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below, and I will definitely see you in the next one.